Hi kids, happy Monday and welcome to our first edition of The Fight here on Matrix Midwest. Thank you so much for tuning in. Plenty coming your way over the course of the next hour. That's Andrew Rogers, I'm Randy Karraker, and we're going to talk sports here every day, inform and hopefully entertain you. And you can find us on TV, on the First Alert 4 app, and matrixmidwest.com, and of course on your computer. Cardinal manager Oli Marmol will join us today. On Tuesdays, Katie Wu of The Athletic. On Wednesdays, Blues broadcaster Joe Vitale will join us. On Thursdays, MLB Network's Greg Amsinger. And every Friday, we will have The Fight. It's only the Friday fight, so we'll play some trivia every Friday for you here on Matrix Midwest. You get to help us also make a parlay every day. We're going to run through the hot topics in sports. Andrew, a St. Louis native, went to Kennedy, Lindenwood. He's been in South Dakota, Omaha, and now he's back home. Welcome home and welcome to The Fight.
Oh, well, thank you, Randy. Thank you for taking me along on this journey. I'll tell you, if you get the opportunity to travel around the Midwest, might as well take that opportunity, right? It's like going through Europe. No, it's great to be back home. I like being a lot more south than I used to be. It gets pretty frigid up in Omaha and South Dakota. But back here in Missouri, yes, the temperatures are relatively the same, but it's great to be home. It's been a dream of mine to be talking sports here in my hometown, and I finally get to do that.
Here we go. Coming up on this show, last night's Super Bowl blowout, a Blues win before the break, and another heartbreak for Mizzou basketball. But we start with last night's Super Bowl in New Orleans, the Eagles and the Chiefs, and it was a blowout. The Eagles manhandled Kansas City 40-22, and the big story of this game, Philadelphia's defense. A 10-0 score midway through the second, and after this touchdown pass, well, took it down to 1 for Jahan Dotson. Then the tush push gave Philadelphia a 7-0 lead, and man, this is unstoppable.
Chris Jones will be feeling this one today and all of this week. It is something that is a bruiser for the line.
Now, here is a 10-0 score, and Mahomes is in trouble as he was all night. Your buddy, Cooper DeJean, with the pick six. And he scores, makes it a 17-0 lead, and then 17-0, and Patrick Mahomes just under siege all night long. He throws another pick that led to a touchdown. This one by Zach Baum, a 14-yard drive after this, sets up a 12-yard touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts, the game's MVP, to A.J. Brown. And, man, that Philadelphia defense. And that was what I worried about for Kansas City, their inability to block the Philadelphia front four. There's a touchdown pass to Brown. But this game, while the Eagles did put up 40, the story of the game was the Philadelphia defense.
Yeah, it was over at halftime, too. And, you know, I love the fact that you brought up the defense because this Philly team, not just last year but the year before, struck gold in the NFL draft. They got Jalen Carter, they got Nolan Smith, they got Quinyon Mitchell, they got Cooper DeJean. The fact that they got all four of those guys, Randy, and were able to make them starters right away is credit to their development, and it just overall shows that they know what they're doing and that they deserved to finally win a Super Bowl. They put together the best team possible. This was total domination. Yeah. It reminded me of 2014 when Peyton got killed by the Seattle Seahawks.
And the fact of the matter is, I know a lot of people in Kansas City this morning are blaming the Chiefs and saying, it's us, we win all the time. Fact of the matter is, Philadelphia was just that good. It was a bad day for the Chiefs, no question about it, but the Philadelphia Eagles set the tempo on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And coming into this game, that was my fear for Kansas City, was it would look like their Tampa Super Bowl, and it looked exactly like their Tampa Super Bowl. They couldn't keep the defensive line of Philadelphia out of their own backfield, and then when it came to trying to do something with their defensive line, they didn't get much pressure on Hurts. Yes, they did slow down Saquon Barkley a little bit, but at the end of the day, this game is about your big guys beating the other team's big guys. And Philadelphia's big guys beat Kansas City's big guys, and that's why the score was the way it was.
I'll tell you, too, I'm really happy for Jalen Hurts. And I know there's a lot of Chiefs fans in the St. Louis area, and you're probably feeling pretty down this morning. But Jalen Hurts, not only did he win the MVP, but this is a guy that just constantly got passed over. He got his job, or he lost his job rather, at Alabama, had to go to Oklahoma, ended up being a second-round pick when most people probably projected him a first. Then he goes to the Eagles, and he's more of a game manager than a superstar. He never will have the best stats, but he will have the best game because of what's built around him. And that's what the Eagles did this year. They gave him a superstar running back. Another guy, I'm happy for Saquon Barkley to finally have his moment. But just overall, this feels like a, man, it yes, good for Jalen Hurts to finally have his moment.
Highly competitive guy. This is a guy that was taken out at Alabama in the national championship game. And by all accounts, he's a really good guy. On the other side, you wonder about the future of the Chiefs, who have been so great for so long. Their offensive line finally cost them. This year, they had to move Joe Thuney out to left tackle. Jawan Taylor, their right tackle, was never that great. As a matter of fact, he had the third most penalties in the league. He was 82nd of 141 tackles, according to Pro Football Focus. His overall rank in terms of pass block was good, run block not so great. And now, if you're Kansas City, you have to work on that left tackle position. Ever since you let Orlando Brown get away, you've had problems with that position. I know they've got a lot of money tied up in the middle of their offensive line. They need to go get themselves a left tackle. On the other side of the ball, last year, the new general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers, Joe Ortiz, said, hey, we're going to be different because our stars are going to be on the offensive line. Yeah, we have a good quarterback, but our stars are going to be on the offensive line. That's exactly what Philadelphia has done with the biggest and best offensive line in the league. And I would think, Andrew, the teams now will really concentrate on being great in the trenches, spending capital in the draft and in free agency to get the best offensive line and defensive line that you can have.
Well, you can have a game manager then like Jalen Hurts. You don't have to have a superstar quarterback like Patrick Mahomes if you do fill in those pieces up front. And that's where it all starts, right? It all starts, the front play right there, that's where it all begins. But overall, I don't know if I've ever seen Mahomes as disrupted as I saw him last night.
The Tampa Bay Super Bowl.
I think last night was even worse on Patrick Mahomes than the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. This was a moment where you watched him play, and as just a fan of football, you're like, gosh, Mahomes needs more than just him now to make things happen. All year long, the Chiefs weren't putting up major points. They had a lot of one-score wins throughout the year. So that right there, Randy, I think tells you a lot about what we saw in last night's Super Bowl. It wasn't just that offensive explosion that you're used to seeing out of Kansas City when you don't have all those pieces in place.
More about the Super Bowl coming up later in the show, but let's move on to Mizzou basketball. A heartbreaker for the Tigers Saturday in Columbia. They were down 9 at halftime to 10th-ranked Texas A&M. They stormed back to take a lead in the final minute, but the Aggies tied it, and then Wade Taylor with a three-pointer with 2.1 seconds left, and Mizzou falls 67-64 after losing on the road to number 4 Tennessee and at home to number 10 Texas A&M. I'm feeling pretty good about the Tigers. I thought it was interesting that last week Jimmy Dykes at the end of the Tennessee game said, hey, this is a Final Four team. They're very capable of getting to the Final Four. And Dennis Gates said the Tigers are still improving. Take a listen. Is he right?
We lost our last 2 games by a total of 7 points to 2 top 10 teams. One on a last-second shot, last-second three. How much better do you want our guys to play? I want them to continue to build on and continue to get better and not focus on the past, but learn the lessons and move forward, because that's what's important in this conference.
And when you're playing dominant teams, Tennessee had lost once at home. And the only non-double-digit victory at home for Tennessee is the game against Missouri, the 4-point win against Missouri. Texas A&M, as we mentioned, 10th ranked in the country. Mizzou played very well. These games could have gone either way, and that's why he says, how much better do you want us to play? Because that's all you can ask for. When you get into a situation like this, when you get into an NCAA tournament, when it comes down to a three-pointer at the end, it's going to be one team or the other. They played well enough to win both of those games, and they're playing well enough against the best conference in America to win games. So I'm right there with Dennis Gates. I'm confident in his team, and I think they can make a run in the tournament.
It's not about competing anymore, Randy. It's all about just finishing in games. And if that's where you can, rest your head at night, if you're a Mizzou basketball fan, you're going to rest easy knowing that you're just one step away from being at the top. You said it. The SEC is the best conference in all of college basketball. Mizzou dropped from 3rd in the standings to 7 because of these 2 losses, but they lost to the number 4 team in the country, and they lost to the number 10 team in the country. So at the end of the day, you look at how Mizzou is built up and down. Depth-wise, they're all set, ready to go. Skill-wise, they're all there. Defensively, they are a suffocating team to play against. They have that offensive firepower. They have that bench point firepower with Caleb Grill and Jacob Cruz bouncing off that can shoot the 3 from basically anywhere on the floor. This team is built to make a deep playoff run, and the fact that they are using the SEC as kind of the precursor to that, it's going to be a fun second half to the season. It feels like March already.
Now, Andrew is a numbers guy, and he likes this thing called the Ken Pom trend. And the last 23 national champions in college basketball followed these 4 metrics on their way to winning the championship. Going into the tournament, you must be top 25 in adjusted efficiency margin. That's always really important. Top 57 in offensive efficiency. We all worry about. John Wooden was really big in being in the top 57 in offensive efficiency. Top 44, this is an Adolph Rupp thing. Top 44 in defensive efficiency. And then, of course, you have to be top 24 in strength of schedule. If you have 3 of those statistics, or all 4 of them, you're in great shape. 3 of them, Mizzou is either in the green or close to it. Tigers 24th in adjusted efficiency. That's a Wooden one. 13th in offensive efficiency. That was Adolph Rupp, right?
Why do I feel like you're being sarcastic?
Bobby Knight was 47th in defensive efficiency because it's about scoring points and allowing points. It's about playing offense and playing defense. It's about hitting shots. It's about playing basketball. Efficiency is wonderful. It's great. But at the end of the day, I think what you want to do is score points and not allow points. I think that's how you win basketball games.
But I think that's what the stats follow, right? When you look at the adjusted offensive efficiency, it's per 100 possessions, right? It's points allowed per 100 possessions on defensive efficiency. So it's about the same thing, right? But gosh, taking shots at my numbers, huh?
No, I take shots at all numbers because I'm bad at math. You guys know I'm bad at math, so that's why I take shots at numbers. I mock what I don't understand.
But you understand that, right? If the numbers follow that trend, the last 23 national champions followed that trend. Mizzou is right on the brink of that, so they're set up to be a national champ.
Mizzou is right there. There's the NCAA champion trend. Mizzou 24, 13, 47, and 60. Here come the Tigers. Should be fun. Dennis Gates has things going, by the way. Congratulations to him at Mizzou because this is a really good team. And as he mentioned, they're still on an upward trajectory. They have not played as well as they're capable of playing, and they have a different hero every night. It's not like they have one guy that they have to lean on. So all good things coming out of Mizzou basketball. Plus Illinois basketball, a big win this weekend. SLU probably doesn't have enough talent at this point to be great, but Josh Schertz has that program on its way too. And we're going to have pretty good local basketball here. Next year, we're going to be really good. Hey, later in the show, you can help us build a parlay. That's right, we bet on this show. Find a single bet you like on DraftKings and send it to us. Andrew's going to make a bet, I'll make a bet, and you make one, and then we'll put them all together to build a parlay. Here is how you can communicate with us. Text in 314-624-0414. And if you have any questions, we'll answer them later in the show. That's right. Just any question you have about what's going on in the show, text or email us at thefight@matrixmidwest.com. Coming up, we've got a look at what's going on in the world of sports, including, to get things started, the Blues pre-Four Nations tournament action right here in The Fight. Saturday night, the Blues wrapped up the pre-Four Nations tournament portion of their schedule with a 6-5, 10 shootout victory over the Chicago Blackhawks. Jordan Binnington, spectacular in the shootout. He gave up 2 first-period goals on odd man rushes. Otherwise, he played really well. But, Andrew, it seems to me, and I know this sounds negative because it is, but it reached an unfortunate point where a 10 shootout win over the hapless Blackhawks thrills us. I was really happy about it. And then I was thinking about it, and I said, I shouldn't be this happy about a win over the Blackhawks, especially when it takes us 10 shootouts to get it.
Well, I think this game showed a lot of where both of these teams are at talent-wise. The fact that you only have 1, maybe 2 go-to goal scorers to really put the puck in the net in a shootout like that, it should never go 10 rounds. But that's just how both of these teams are built. The Hawks don't have anyone past Bedard. I guess they have a few, but not really. And then the Blues are just kind of good, not great. And overall, it told me a lot about where both of these teams are at today.
The Blues are going to get Dvorsky here. They're going to get Jimmy Snuggerud here. And eventually, those guys will be top 6 guys that push other players down. One of the big problems I see with the Blues right now, Andrew, is that they have 2 fourth lines. Their third line is a fourth line on a good team. And, of course, their fourth line. You can't go through life with a bunch of bottom 3 players, and that's what the Blues are trying to do. Now, they sent Zach Bolduc to Springfield for the next couple of weeks so that he can get some time in there. But what they need to do ultimately is, after the Frozen Four, get Snuggerud here sooner rather than later, get Dvorsky up here.
Yeah, and if it's not one of those two, and if they don't pan out, you have to find a way to get a top-name free agent and try to make room for him come next season.
So Andrew mentioned the situation that the Hawks are in with Connor Bedard. Would you rather be the Hawks in their current situation, having Bedard but not much else around him, or the Blues' current situation where you have some good but not great talent, but two really promising prospects that we mentioned?
I think I'll start with this. I'd give my left arm to have a player like Connor Bedard. But in terms of answering this question, the Blues are set up better for the future than the Hawks are. You look at the prospects the Blues have, and you mentioned them, Snuggerud and Dvorsky. When you look at the Hawks prospects, they have big names, but they aren't ready yet. They aren't close to ready. The Blues at least have those close to ready guys. Plus, you need to add free agents if you're the Blackhawks to put around Bedard to keep him as successful as possible, where the Blues already have kind of that baseline, already that set of good players in Kyrou, Thomas, Holloway, Vucinovic. So if you can get one of those prospects to pan out to be a superstar, then the Blues are in better shape than the Hawks.
One of the great lines in the history of sports, our great late friend Mike Shannon said, "I'd give my left arm to be ambidextrous." But yeah, you'd like to have a guy like Connor Bedard on your team, but that means you have to be terrible, and they've been terrible for 7 or 8 years now in Chicago. I don't think the Blues are prepared to do that. I think the Blues look at what they did in 2019, winning without having that real superstar, but a lot of depth. I think I'd rather have the situation where I had depth and rather than a superstar with nobody else. And I would not have confidence in the front office if I were a Blackhawks fan. I have confidence in Doug Armstrong being able to build a Stanley Cup champion here. All right, let's move on to the Cardinals. They have added a new reliever. Former Tampa Bay reliever Nick Anderson joins the Redbirds on a minor league deal. He's been beset by injury, but he's been pretty good when he's been healthy, Andrew. And the Cardinal bullpen has Ryan Helsley and Ryan Fernandez, Jojo Romero, John King, Matthew Liberatore, and then the likes of Anderson and Chris Roycroft. Kyle Leahy will be back in spring training, Ryan Ludus, Riley O'Brien, and also the one who doesn't win the fifth starter job between McGreevy and Palante. So I think that they're going to have arms. I don't know that they'll have dominant arms in their bullpen to start the season, but I really like the way the bullpen is shaping up.
Well, the bullpen was the bright spot of the Cardinals team last season. And the only name that you don't hear again is Andrew Kitteridge. And he's the type of guy that, yes, he's a good 7th, 8th inning man, but the Cardinals didn't lose their closer. They didn't lose Ryan Helsley to a trade or any sort of thing like that. So having him back, I believe, sets the Cardinals back up to still be a bullpen that could be top 10. Having him delivering 3 outs at the end of a game, you still have a good setup guy in Ryan Fernandez, or you could find any of the smattering of others to be a 7th or 8th inning guy. You mentioned Nick Anderson. He was great during the pandemic year, has been hit with the injury bug, but he's still a good old pitcher looking for revitalization here in St. Louis. The Cardinals bullpen's actually better than people think.
And it'll be interesting to watch a guy like Riley O'Brien, who has great stuff. Can he stay healthy?
Great
All right,
Irish name.
The Super Bowl last night. What was your favorite Super Bowl commercial?
For me, Randy, it was the Doritos commercial, and I think we have that, Tyler, don't we? There it is, right there, the UFO Doritos commercial. That one was hilarious to me for a couple of reasons. One, because a random fan made the commercial. Like, Doritos didn't have to pay anybody. They had submissions, and this is what they ended up with. And then this scene here, that I just love the dumb humor. And that is total comedy. That is Andrew Rogers comedy right there. This had my liking as my favorite.
All right. I liked that one. I thought it was excellent. I thought the people, though, at Mountain Dew with this commercial with Seal being a seal, I thought that was so creative and so well done. And of course, I'm a fan of Mountain Dew. And
a big fan.
Here is Seal being a seal and singing his biggest hit song. I thought that Mountain Dew hit it out of the ballpark with this one. That was a lot of fun. And as always, kudos to our friends over at Anheuser-Busch with a classic, again, another classic Budweiser commercial with the little baby horse that delivers the beer.
Clydesdale. This is nostalgia right here, Randy. This right here is when you, in St. Louis especially, you look up at your TV and your eyes don't move away for those 30 seconds. You can't take your eyes off the Clydesdale because it hits so much at home.
Honorable mention, by the way, and we watched this one early. And if you tuned out, we don't blame you because the game was a blowout. But the late Stella Artois commercial with David Beckham and Matt Damon was very funny. If you get a chance to watch that one on YouTube, it was great. And the Duncan spot with Bill Belichick and his girlfriend and Ben Affleck, that was classic.
The late fist bump.
by Bill Belichick. He has turned into a really fun, self-deprecating guy at this point in his career. I wonder if he's going to stay that way. And I wonder, is it Jordan, his girlfriend? I wonder if she's the one that's kind of lightened him
I couldn't tell you.
up a little bit.
I couldn't tell you. I like Bill Belichick's dry humor late in life.
All right. Next month, ESPN can opt out of their contract with Major League Baseball. The two have been partners for 40 years. What would it say about MLB if it's the only sport of the Big Four that's in America but not on ESPN?
I think it's a problem, Randy, for one, because Major League Baseball is in a current state where they're trying to grow the game. And in order to grow the game, you're going to want to be on one of the most premier sports channels. Humans are creatures of habit. We like going over to Sunday Night Baseball. We know that's where MLB lives on a Sunday night. I know the direction that MLB's trying to go. They're trying to take total control, shift it to where maybe it's free in local markets, or you can get rid of blackouts on a streaming site that you can pay for. I understand what they're trying to do, but it's too early. You only have about 3 or 4 teams locked into I produce you. You need at least half of Major League Baseball on that line in order to move away from ESPN. It's too soon.
We know when the big NFL game is. It's Sunday night, right? We know when the big NBA game. It's Saturday night during the season. We know when the big NHL game is, right? It's Tuesday or Thursday on TNT. If baseball doesn't have Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, when is their big game every week? I think that they need to have some benchmarks that we can count on as baseball fans. And I get that they want more money. I get that ESPN probably wants more flexibility in scheduling with Major League Baseball, but it would be a huge mistake, in my opinion, for that partnership for Major League Baseball to go away. ESPN doesn't need Major League Baseball. It's kind of like when hockey wasn't on ESPN. ESPN doesn't need Major League Baseball. Baseball needs ESPN.
No doubt.
All right. Coming up on this inaugural edition of The Fight, we're going to head to Jupiter, Florida, and hear from the Cardinal manager, Oli Marmol, as he gets ready to start spring training on Wednesday. Pitchers and catchers report. The Cardinal skipper coming up here on The Fight on Matrix Midwest. We are thrilled on this inaugural edition of The Fight to have the Cardinal manager, Oli Marmol, join us. The Cardinals getting ready to start spring training. He's already down in Jupiter. Pitchers and catchers officially have to report on Wednesday, but a lot of people are already down there. Oli, thanks so much for taking the time on our first show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to this, man.
It'll be great. I want to talk about this because this is going to be a little bit different. Last year you came into spring training. You've always, in your 3 previous years with the Cardinals, had so many veteran players. Now you've got predominantly a young team. Does that change your approach to spring training at all?
Not necessarily. I thought last year with bridging the gap with our young guys and bringing in the leadership that we brought in with on the position player side with Karraker, but also Lance in that group with Gibby was important. But they did a really nice job of instilling some really good traits in these guys and showing them what it looks like to be a pro. And I feel like these guys have a really good idea of what they need to do coming into this spring. So from that standpoint, no, not necessarily.
Oli, one of the things that happens in spring training, and we tend to forget about this, is you really have to go back to ground zero fundamentally, don't you? In terms of like pitcher's fielding practice, PFP, and the little things. And I've always thought that you take players back to as if they had never played before to work on fundamentals. How does that work for you and your staff?
Randy, you're spot on. And I learned a lot of that from Tony La Russa. He made it super clear that regardless of, even if you have the same group coming back, man, you have to put yourself in their shoes. These guys have worked really hard in the offseason to perfect their craft, right? They're working on their defense. They're working on getting faster, stronger. They're working on their swing. But they don't spend a ton of time on the fundamentals of the game. And what I mean is, they're not thinking about the right spacing on a cutoff and relay. They're not thinking about first and third bump plays and different things that are the small details that allow you to win games. So when they come into the building, you have to start at ground zero. And you do that every single spring. And it's not an insult to anybody other than like, hey, we are going to lay the foundation for the small things and then build from there. But you do that every single spring, especially when you have a young group. Absolutely.
Oli, Arenado has been in and out of trade talks, and I'm sure it can't be easy having your life in limbo like that. How's he feeling entering the year still as a Cardinal, and what are the conversations like between you and him, knowing there's some uncertainty with his status?
He's a pro. He's an absolute pro, man. And a lot of our conversations have revolved around just how he's doing and how his family's doing. And this is a guy that understands the business, right? And I hope the absolute best for him. Not sure how this is going to work out. My job is to manage the guys that I have, and currently I have him. But my conversations with him have been good, man. This is a guy that understands what he's going through right now. And at the end of the day, in his own words, hey, I'm gonna be ready to go, regardless of where that is. Like, I'm preparing to be the best version of myself. And he's a big competitor, man. So regardless how this works out, man, I love the dude, and we'll see.
Hey, Oli, over the last couple of years, the focus has been so great on Jordan Walker, and he's been up and down, and I know one of your goals this year is to get Walker and Gorman a lot of at-bats. How will this year be different, and especially this spring, be different for Jordan Walker than the last two?
He's worked hard. I want to start with Gorman because this is a guy that spent a decent amount of time with Brandt this offseason over in Arizona. He's worked really hard on his swing, understanding what holes he has and how to kind of find solutions for that. And his swing's looking really, really good. So I'm incredibly optimistic about the year Gorman could have. When you look at Walker, there's several areas that he's trying to address. The defense, one of them, and then the offense is the other. And he's making adjustments there as well. He spent a decent amount of time of his offseason here in Jupiter. Brandt flew down, spent some time with him here as well. But when you talk about ability and ceiling, man, this dude has it all. He's got some incredible power, and putting that all together, hopefully this spring he could come in and just drop his shoulders a little bit and understand, like, hey, man, I need to come in and just be myself. Start to apply some of the things that he's been going over with Brandt, but at the end of the day, just continue to take small steps forward and not try to do it all at once. And I think that could be incredibly beneficial to him.
Hey, Oli, it's so hard for a young player that hears so much to be himself, isn't it? And you almost have to tell him, be yourself, and he starts to wonder, what is myself? So you just kind of have to let him marinate, don't you?
Yeah, and just go through the struggles with them. And part of that is them understanding that you're on their side, that the hitting coach is on your side, that they're in the box with you every at bat. And I feel like that trust with Brandt he's built that pretty quickly with a lot of these guys, and he cares. So I'm excited to see kind of how that works.
Oli, the biggest question I hear from fans entering this season is, what are the Cardinals going to be this year? We've heard reset, we've heard rebuild, but only one person can really tell us the identity of this team, and that's you. How would you describe the layout and approach for 2025?
I thought the players did a really nice job of laying that out themselves during the winter warm-up. You hear Sonny and you hear Contreras and Newt and these guys step on the podium, and they said, man, you can't convince me that we're not going to win this year, regardless of what you want to call it, a rebuild, a reset. These guys are extreme competitors, and when they take the field, they have one thing in mind, and that's how are we going to win this game? So will it look different? Yeah, it will, to your point, man. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, this city has an incredible tradition of winning and building things that last. And when you look at what we're trying to do over the next several years is do exactly that, man. Teach these guys how to win, but build something that is truly lasting. You look at Newbar and just the overall enthusiasm that he brings to the game, and Mason and his passion, and you had Donovan, and he's just an incredibly poised person. But then Sonny on the veteran side, and Contreras and his competitive nature, man, it's a really good mix. But the key to all of this, to answer your question, man, it's going to be coming together as a group, knowing that not one individual is going to carry this group. You're going to truly have to be a team in order to execute from day one.
Ali, you mentioned some of the young athletic players that you have, and you mentioned during the winter warm-up and at the Baseball Writers Dinner how you want to be more aggressive and use your speed more. How will that manifest itself, though? Is it stolen bases? Is it hitting and running? How will you use your team's athleticism?
Yeah, when you talk about youth, I mean, you look at the Cianis and Vicks and Mason, and even Jordan, like these guys, and Mason specifically, he spoke to this several times, but just being able to add to that stolen base column, and he has the ability to do that with the best of them. He was incredible going first to third and just taking that extra base. But when it comes to actually taking a bag, we're going to see more of that from him. I think there's a couple guys on our roster that could get, you can see an uptick in that category. But just playing the game with just aggressive. You have to be smart first, but then aggressive and pushing the limits and understanding what our limits are. So it's a lot of youth, but to be quite honest, man, I am incredibly optimistic about what this club could do, and it'll be an exciting group to watch.
Oli, whether it's a new face or somebody that you've seen work really hard in the offseason, who would you say is somebody you think will surprise some people this year?
Man, surprise some people. I don't know if surprise, because certain people would bet on the fact that he's going to have a breakout, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Gorman. There's a combination. He's a special type of player, man. He's really good. He's got great skill, but his mindset is so steady that I think it'll allow him. We're going to see all of this come together, and when it does, we can see a very, very special player. But I'm really optimistic about Gorman's year. There's several guys, man. They've been working really hard, but he's one I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Hey, Ali, you've got a lot of competitions. First of all, is that competition, you've got Gray, you've got Michaelis, you've got Matz, you've got Fetty, and we as the media and fans, we perceive that there's a competition between Pallante and McGreevy. Is that an accurate competition? And if not, what are some of the competitions that you're looking forward to?
No, that's fair. I think Pallante is a really good example of what it looks like when you give somebody a little bit more runway to figure things out. I think he went down to AAA. He had a very clear plan of what he needed to do and worked on it, came back up and had his ups and downs, but for the most part, man, showed to be a very valuable starter. So we're excited about Pallante's future. McGreevy, in his couple starts with us at the big league level, did a phenomenal job of just keeping the ball on the ground, pitching to contact, and I mean, it looked good. So we'll see how we come out of spring. It's tough to come out of spring completely healthy. So a lot of this stuff usually works itself out, but the guys are ready to go. I'll tell you that.
Oli, something I love asking managers and other coaches is to find me one guy, one player that you would say represents the fabric of what it means to be a St. Louis Cardinal. Who would you say that person is in the clubhouse?
Gosh. A couple things come to mind. It's a really good question, by the way. When you look at our club, and this is what I love about it, and I think this is the right timing for what we're doing. You look at behind the plate, Pages and Herrera, you have homegrown guys. You have Burleson, homegrown. You have Donovan, Gorman, Mason Wynn, Jordan Walker, Newbar, Vic. You go down that list, man, there's a lot of guys that are coming through our system, and we're going to improve what that looks like on the pitching side. But it's guys that really understand what it means to play for the Cardinals and play in the city of St. Louis. They know what that means, and they take that to heart. So when you ask for one guy, I think you can hear in his language and overall the way he articulates things, a Donovan expressing some real leadership qualities. During winter warm-up, some of the interviews that he did, you can hear that tone, and he does a really good job of that and bringing guys together, man. But it's going to take more than one guy, and I think of Mason Wynn and just the overall competitive nature and fire that he brings to the table. It's going to be a group effort. It really is. The way this is going to go, if it goes well, this group is going to come together as a team. And that's what I'm looking forward to. But a couple of those guys just bring something different to the table. When you put it all together, it's fun to watch, man.
Hey, Ali, two more things. Number one, I was going to say Donovan. If somebody would have asked me, he's accepted a leadership role. But you mentioned two guys that want to be here in Sonny Gray and Contreras. And yeah, they aren't They didn't start. They haven't only worn the birds on the bat. And I know how much wearing the birds on the bat means to you, but how much does it mean to you as a manager with so many young guys to have those two want to be here?
We spoke a little bit about it, Randy, when we were at the baseball writers dinner, right? And it was part of my overall speech there. It's really meaningful to me as a manager, to the organization, and it should be, and I know it is to the city, when two guys, when you say the word reset or rebuild, and you have two guys in Sonny and Contreras where they are in their career, and they say, we want to be here for it. It lets you know kind of what's important to them. They love coming alongside other guys and bringing them along for that ride. And Sonny does that extremely well. Contreras loves speaking to the young guys. So, man, I'm excited about it. These guys want to be here. They want to compete with this young group and help them come along. So as a manager, it means the world to me. You kidding me?
Hey, Oli, I want to tell people that are tuned in how much I have fun having baseball conversations with you. You and I talk ball, and it's fun, and I really do appreciate you and your friendship and you joining us on the show. Thank you so much.
More than at the beginning, right, Randy?
we're getting better. We're smoothing things out.
The first time I came across Andrew, he said, man, I just see you as this numbers guy, analytics guy, and I'm not sure I agree with you. I said, well, beautiful.
Well, you know what? He said the same claim about me just about 30 minutes ago, so it's not just you.
Hey, Oli, have a great spring, and we'll see you back here on opening day, okay?
Appreciate you, brother.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Oli. I'm fired up.
Yeah.
That got me fired up.
Yeah, that's our Cardinal manager, Oli Marmol, joining us on the very first show of The Fight here on Matrix Midwest. Now, coming up, we need your help to make a parlay. We're each going to make a bet, and then you can text in your bet from DraftKings. Any bet. It could be long shots. It could be something easy, and you can help us out. All you need to do is text in 314-624-0414, and we've got some risky business. Build a parlay next in The Fight. Save this number in your phone to communicate with us, 314-624-0414, 314-624-0414, and you can find a bet on DraftKings and make a bet with us every single day. He makes bets on DraftKings all the time. As a matter of fact, won a little bit of money last night in the Super Bowl with Cooper DeJean.
Little bit. I did have Cooper DeJean interception. Now, granted, I'm totally biased. I covered him in high school, so I told myself I'm not missing his first interception, and he did it on his birthday.
So, guys, every day, here's what we're going to do. I'll pick a bet. Andrew will pick a bet, and then you text in or email in with a bet. We'll put them all together, and we'll play a parlay. So, for example, tonight, the Celtics are at the Heat. I'm all about St. Louis, right? So I've got Jason Tatum plus 145 tonight to get a double-double. Now that it's moved to plus 135, Tatum plus 135 for a double-double tonight against Miami, who doesn't have Jimmy Butler anymore.
Just means more likely, right? When the number goes down a little bit, it's a little more likely. My play, Randy, is over on the college basketball side of things, and it's the big game tonight. UNC at Clemson. Clemson coming off a big win over Duke. I think they're going to ride that high. Give me Clemson minus 5.5. This game is a little too close for me. UNC is 1-9 in quad one games. It'll be the RJ Davis, Chase Hunter show, but I like Clemson at home. It's what I always go back to in college basketball. Never bet against the home team.
So we've got no hockey, we've got no football, but Bob in Afton has been kind enough to check out DraftKings and send us his bet. What's he got?
He has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA. His points tonight, 35 plus. He averages 32.4, but he likes a little bit of that juice, some plus odds there. So he's going plus 105. We come over here to our bet slip. We have the double-double, Clemson, and the 35 plus. That parlay, Randy, 827. So if we come over here and we write in $100, because that's what Randy and I do, we bet big. Yeah. That payout will be $927. Of course, you get your 100 back, so it's $827 profit. That's pretty darn good, if you ask me.
That's build a parlay in the fight. And don't forget, we need you to build a parlay every day. So if you already have an idea for tomorrow's bet, check it out on DraftKings and send it to us. You can email us at thefight@matrixmidwest.com. So we've got more coming up. We've got Take It or Leave It. Plus, we've got birthdays and anniversaries. All of that coming your way next on The Fight. We'll do take it or leave it in the fight every day. One of us will have a statement and we'll be able to take it or leave it. Here's an example. Last night in the Super Bowl, first quarter, A.J. Brown of the Eagles is working against Trent McDuffie of the Chiefs. And he's got his arm holding McDuffie off by the face mask. Clear offensive pass interference. And social media goes nuts saying, oh man, that's because Brady said no big deal. And so Brady wants to change the rules. He said, I'll let him play in the postseason. No, the rules aren't supposed to change in the postseason, Tom. They're supposed to stay the same. And the rule in the rule book is you can't hold off that receiver and especially hit him in the face with your hand. So take it or leave it. Before people complain about calls in a football game, they should know the rule they're complaining about.
Well, Randy, I will take that. And the reason I'll take that is I'm an official myself, not at the capacity of an NFL official, but I do ref games here in town. And my favorite thing ever is when the third referee is up in the bleachers, not blowing his whistle, but complaining about every call. Now, I will say, a little weak. That first play was a little weak. It set the tone.
Was it a
If we were going to call it tight, I'm like, okay, now we got to call it tight. And he did. He called it really tight over there on the sidelines the rest of the game.
Yeah, and you know what? It was strong or weak. The fact of the matter is, it's still a penalty. Doesn't matter the strength. It could be a scale of 1 to 10. It could be a 1, but it's still a penalty.
Hey, I'll follow along. I'll follow along in two. Let's get rid of that one and go to this one, Randy. Mine for you. Take it or leave it. Aaron Rodgers was in the news yesterday. He won't be a starting quarterback next season.
Andrew, I am going to take that, and I will see that, and I will up the ante a little bit. I'm going to say he won't be in the NFL next year.
He retires, huh? I could see it.
Or the league retires him.
That could happen too. The only thing is, what situation do you think Aaron Rodgers could go to where he is a starting quarterback? Because I think there's maybe like 2 teams in the NFL.
Pittsburgh, one of them.
There's
right?
one.
And I can't imagine that Mike Tomlin would want him around. I don't know who else he goes to.
Tennessee?
Nah,
Tennessee is probably the only
you're-
other one that could use a quarterback like him when there's not a lot of quarterbacks in the draft that they could get.
If I'm Brian Callahan and I'm a young head coach, I don't want Aaron Rodgers coming in and poisoning my team.
You don't want to go into a dark hole and, well, let's just say meditate the entire offseason.
Okay, so Director Tyler has a Tioli for us, okay? And we got the text of this last night. Take it or leave it, the new Fox score bug that debuted last night is an elite design choice, and every other network should follow suit. It was rather simplistic, I thought.
Elite? Are we
Elite.
serious?
Okay, so
Elite?
I think both of us, I think we can both say
But
that's
let's put another
elite.
check in that box. Maybe
Yeah.
a third.
Yeah,
Maybe a fourth.
So yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't really the highest of high tech. It kind of looked like Pong, the game from the 70s. So
Can't say I played that game all too much, but I do know the game you're talking
I
about.
thought it was interesting that Fox, who originated that score bug, that's what they had in the Super Bowl. I think that was an interesting choice.
I hate the transparent background behind the numbers. That's what I think I hate the most. Outside of the blockiness of these letters, it could have been so much better. Could have been so much better, but it did get people talking right at the start of the game.
So, Tyler, thank you for your Tioli. And by the way, how did you think? Tyler, what did you think? He thought it was awful too. So,
Oh, he said
there you
take
go.
it. He loved it.
Oh, no. So
wait, no,
we got
now he's yelling at me. He's yelling at
there.
me. And that's why he moved the screen too on me, so I couldn't write it down.
Okay, time for birthdays and anniversaries. And happy birthday to Cardinal hero Lance Berkman.
Here's a 3-2.
Hero of the 2011 World Series, born on this date in 1976. Only spent a couple of years in St. Louis, but forever remembered. And a Cardinal hero, no doubt, Lance Berkman, born on this date in 1976. Also today, happy birthday to our buddy, the former Rams punter, Johnny Hecker. He was as fun a punter as you could have. Had a radio show here in town. He's now playing for the Carolina Panthers, and he's 35 years old today. Yep, he could throw it too. Those fake punts that he turned out.
He was the king of the fake
He
punt.
was. And one thing that we really missed out on, especially with Chuck Berry being from St. Louis, when Johnny Hecker was in high school, they always played Go Johnny Go, but they never played it here for him.
Well, I'll tell you, Johnny Hecker was always the guy you wanted when you were playing Madden. Not just for the fake punt reason there, but because he was one of the best punters in the game when he was a St. Louis Ram.
So happy birthday to our buddy Johnny Hecker. Also, former Rams backup quarterback Jamie Martin, still here in town. He was a restaurant owner for a while, and he was an assistant football coach and a great St. Louis. And Jamie Martin is 55 today. happy birthday to Jamie. He forged some big comeback wins for the Rams as a backup quarterback.
Jamie Martin, undrafted out of college. He was the undrafted signing before Kurt Warner was the undrafted signing.
Yeah, right. So a good guy, and good to have Jamie Martin here in St. Louis, and happy birthday at the age of 55. All right, time for anniversaries. This day in sports history, in 1981, the NHL All-Star Game. Mike Liut was the MVP at the 33rd NHL All-Star Game at the Forum in Inglewood. The Campbell Conference, you remember this, Andrew? The Campbell Conference and the Wales Conference?
Can't say I do.
Oh, Campbell just handled the Wales 4-1, and Mike Liut, a goalie, was the MVP in the NHL All-Star Game.
The only 80s hockey I remember is Miracle on Ice. That's about it.
Okay. Mike Liut, by the way, a member of the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame, who after a game one time I saw at Noggles, just sitting there eating a burger, and I was eating a macho meat burrito. I got to change that.
Macho meat burrito.
Macho
That sounds
meat burrito.
tasty.
Oh, it was awesome. And Mike Liut showed up, a professional athlete, lean, 6'4", and he was going into Noggles was great Mexican food. And so that's my fondest, well, not my fondest memory of Mike Liut, but a fond memory of Mike Liut. Hey, how about Bonnie Blair? Champaign, Illinois' Bonnie Blair wins the Olympics gold medal, first for the USA in 1992. She was a spectacular speed skater, and, well, I'm sure she still is, but she was a hero in those 1992 Olympics.
I mean, just look at her go there. For one, I can't even ice skate, so I get infatuated when people are a lot more talented than me in a certain category, and this is one of them. I wish I could skate, but I mean, she is flying.
Yeah, she was great, and she was a national hero, and it was cool. Champaign, Illinois' Bonnie Blair. Another person from Southern Illinois, Jerry Sloan. I always regretted that he didn't win a championship. Was I rooting for the Bulls against the Jazz? Yes. But Jerry Sloan resigns as head coach of the Utah Jazz on this date in 2011. He was a great NBA coach and a great representative of our area.
Unlike what the Utah Jazz are today in the NBA, not a very great representative of their area.
No. So Jerry Sloan, and when he resigned, man, he was done. That was it for Jerry Sloan. So
no comeback like Dick Vermeil.
No, one of those anniversaries. Hey, it's been a great show. We thank our friend Oli Marmol for joining us. We thank you for tuning in. How did you think things went today on day one of the fight?
Overall, and I'm happy you brought up things on the fight, the name, the fight. I think they went great, but we did have a listener question come in throughout the show, and he asked if there was another name that you possibly were thinking about for the name of the show.
There were so many names that we threw out there, but one of the things is I'm kind of known for the fight, and every Friday we will have the fight, and you'll be able to email in at thefight@matrixmidwest.com if you'd like to be a participant in the fight. We'll do it every Friday here on Matrix Midwest. Tomorrow we're going to talk baseball with Katie Wu from down in Jupiter, Florida, and we can't wait to talk to you. Thanks for being a part of the show. For all of us, have a magnificent Monday, St. Louis.